8:31, and this is the curriculum committee meeting of the West Bend School District and School Board. We'll start with introductions. I'm Melanie Ehrgott, school board member.
Jill Reese, Director of Curriculum Instruction. Erin Faust, Program Administrator for the Curriculum and Instruction Department.
Tina Van Roo, the District Data Coordinator.
All right, we will begin our discussion with the mid-year review of STAR data, and that was prepared by Tina Van Roo.
All right, so our students at West Bend School Districts in grades K through 10 just finished taking the Universal Screener STAR assessment for the second out of 3 times for this school year. So prior to Christmas break, students in grades K through 1 took a STAR Early Literacy exam, which is a pre-reading assessment. Students in grade 2 through 10 took a reading assessment, and then students in grades 1 through 8 took STAR Math, while our 9th and 10th graders took a course-alike assessment in the area of algebra or geometry. Before I start talking about the results from winter, I do want to show you an important score that comes out of taking the STAR exam and how that score is used to set our proficiency benchmarks. So one of the scores that comes out of the exam is the National Percentile Rank. That score tells us how students are doing compared to their grade level peers that tested at the same time nationwide. STAR norms all of their test results. So in 2022, so post-COVID closure, they renormed the US for students that participated in these assessments. In the area of early literacy, they had 1.2 million kids participate in their norm group. In the area of STAR reading, they had over 9 million. And then in the area of STAR math, they had 4.9 million. So the national norms are very robust. There is a big pool of kids that contributed to these grade level norm scores. The National Percentile Rank, when the score comes out, it ranges on a 1 to a 99. We take that range of 1 to 99 and we chunk it into 4 different levels of proficiency. Level 1, which is kind of noted in the red coloring, would be below basic. Level 2, yellow, is basic. Level 3, blue, is proficient. And then level 4, green, is advanced. When students reach that level 3 or level 4, they're considered to be proficient at their grade level. The pictures there show 2 different things. For students in STAR reading, we set our benchmarks for attaining that level 3 or level 4 based on where we want them to be at the end of the year. So as they test in fall, then winter, and finally spring, we want to see how they're reaching those grade level end of year benchmarks. For STAR reading, on that 1 to 99 scale, approximately when students hit that 50th percentile rank, that's when they are considered to be proficient and above for that given grade level. STAR Math, however, which is the second picture, that proficiency benchmark for the end of the year is a little bit higher, and that is set at the 70th percentile rank. We set the benchmarks at the 50th and 70th so that we can use the STAR assessment as a predictor of how we're going to do on the state assessment, the Wisconsin Forward exam. It's administered in springtime. Any questions about benchmarking? Okay. So we'll get into the results. First, we have STAR Early Literacy, again, which is our pre-reading assessment. We administer it to our students in kindergarten and first grade. So what this slide is showing you is how kindergartners and first graders have done for the past 2 and current winter. You can see that our test participation has been high, so the results are valid. We had a little dip in performance last year, but this year in winter, our kindergartners and first graders are back up to where we had previously had those benchmark expectations.
I have one question. So like the 51%, is that meaning that 51% of the students are meeting the, 50 benchmark that's on the previous page.
Yes,
Okay.
yep. And that again is set for the end of the year, so if 51% are meeting it now, even more are gonna meet it when we take this assessment for the third time in spring. Yeah, every window, they grow closer and closer to meeting that grade level end of year benchmark. This next slide is showing that same group of students, but now it's itemized grade by grade. So you can look at this slide in two ways. If you look at grade K and just look at the row, how kindergartners did 2 winters ago, last winter, and this winter, you can see how that kindergarten's done over time. You can also look at the cells in a diagonal, so you can loosely look at a cohort of students, which is itemized in the red highlights, showing how kiddos did last year winter, and then loosely how that same group of kids is doing 1 year later in this year's winter, and see how that movement or growth has happened. And you could use any diagonals, I just highlighted one as an example. Lastly, I wanted to show just this year's data. So when the kids first take the assessment in fall, it's really tough to say we expect you to be at end of year benchmarks when you start the year. So it's important to know that moving from fall to winter, like I explained before, we should see an increase in those bar charts each time they take it as they're trying to achieve that end of year goal. Both kindergartners and first graders showed great improvement in the STAR early literacy between the two different windows. Next, we'll move on to STAR reading. So we'll see the same series of slides. For STAR reading, just as a reminder, the students that participate in this are in grades 2 through 10. Likewise, we've had high participation, so our results are very valid. And we're pretty consistently, winter by winter by winter, performing in that low to mid 40s percentile. When we break it down by grade, again, you could look at each grade individually, row by row, or you could loosely look at a cohort of students diagonally and see how they have progressed year after year as they move through the system. The highlighted example here tracks the 2021 second graders as they went on to third and now fourth grade this year.
Do you know how our students compare to other districts that are, local or around us? Or even I know there's some districts that are more comparable, like Nina was more of a similar demographic. Do you know how this works?
I don't know how they do with any of their local data, but we do compare ourselves with them to the state exams. So when we give those comp scores in fall, they're very closely aligned. Since we have our data very closely aligned from STAR to Wisconsin Forward, it's likely that they have a system in place, but every district is able to make their own universal screening plan and benchmarks. So that state summative, yeah, they have other tools that they can use too, and each district can choose. So those state exams are where we can really find true comps.
And Tina, isn't it true that Nina and then Wauwatosa is the other district that has very similar demographics and?
Last year, yeah, we lovingly call them kind of our sister districts. They might not know that, but our on paper, we have a lot of similarities with our enrollment. Mm-hmm. On this next slide, it's showing grade by grade how students moved from their fall proficiency to their winter. In many of the grades, you see some significant jumps and increases, while some other grades are a little more flat in their trend.
What do you think would cause like the dip down in some of those higher grades? Just the age?
Yeah, it could be. I think that's kind of the cool thing about when the buildings meet to talk about the data. they know their students best and they can sit and have PLC or building meetings, grade level meetings, and talk about what's going on. Also in those meetings, they should be looking at classroom data too, because STAR is just one piece of info that tells us how they're doing, but they have to pull in classroom work too. So I think they're much more individual conversations that the buildings have about what the kids aren't doing, what techniques the teachers aren't trying to meet their needs and grow them.
Can I just add, PLCs are called professional learning communities, and they're like team meetings where they need to talk about goals and data and things like that.
STAR Math is our next assessment, and this is administered in grades 1 through 8. We have been identical for the past 3 winters with test participation and that benchmark towards the end of year performance. When we break it down by grade level, you really see some variance. So again, you can look at one grade level straight across the row to see how they've done over time, as well as following a diagonal to see how students do as they move through the system. Looking at just this year's fall to winter, again, in every grade level, we saw an increase from fall to winter, which is great. Some more significant than others, but definitely everyone was moving in the right direction. At our high school, STAR offers 2 different assessments that are specific to the areas of algebra and geometry. We just started using this last year, so we only have last year and this year to compare to one another. For STAR Math, which is a general assessment, a very small percentage of students take that based off of their IEP needs. Other than that, it's very typical, as you can see by the participation numbers, that 9th graders primarily take STAR Algebra and 10th graders primarily take STAR Geometry. Looking at last year and this year, you can see those winter scores broken down by each grade level. Again, really highlighting that 9th graders align to geometry and 10th graders align, 9th graders align to algebra and 10th graders align to geometry. Highlighting those 2 very specific areas, I did chart how they algebra 9th graders and the geometry 10th graders changed from their fall to winter. Both had an increase, and you can see geometry had a significant increase. Another piece of information that STAR provides is in relation to growth. So prior, we were looking at how they are benchmarking. How are they doing at grade level at that specific point in time? Growth is a totally different calculation, but it's based off of that same score. So they take that national percentile rank, and they now are using that in comparing students to just their academic peers. So in this visual, if you had a cluster of students that all started at the 50th percentile rank, they are now in a small group of peers, and how they grow, they're only going to be compared to them. So they're not being compared to somebody who started at the 99th percentile or somebody who started at the first. So it's a really cool individual piece of information that shows how those kiddos grow to kids all in the US that started in that same place that they did. When students share their growth, it's considered a student growth percentile. It again falls on a 1 to 99 scale, and students can fall within 3 growth ranges. So are they growing at a low rate, which would be pictured in red, a typical rate, yellow, or a high rate of green? Teachers are able to utilize both sets of scores to have really pointed conversations about students. So they can look at those grade level expectations and the growth rates. This is kind of a mock-up of a report that they can run in the STAR platform, and it plots the students in different quadrants. So the dark vertical line is that 50th growth rate, which is where we have our district expectation set. And the horizontal dark line is that grade level expectation. So depending on where the dots fall, they could have a really pointed conversation about, ooh, we've got high performers and high growers. What's working? How do we keep that growth rate up there so that as they move on through the system or go up to high school, they're continuing to be accelerated and growing at their level and at their pace. Likewise, at the other end of the quadrant, if you have students that have low proficiency and low growth, what other supports do they need? Do they qualify for an intervention service because they have a skill gap? So looking at both proficiency benchmarks and growth gives a fuller picture of the students, and then the teachers can help target what they need to move on.
So Tina, each of these blue dots is a student.
Yeah, it's not a real report, it's just, I just plugged them in there to show that kids can fall into any of those different ranges or quadrants. It's much prettier when it comes directly out of the system. Even in the system, the teachers can hover over the dot. It'll tell them the student's name, all their scores, two of their most historical recent scores. So it gives a really quick glance profile so they can be like, ooh, what kids do you have here? What kids do you have here? Are we doing the same thing? What should we try? So it's pretty cool when they use both pieces of scores together.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any questions?
No, I do think that it's good when this will come before the board at some point, right? That you share that, like, the benchmarks are for the end of the year, because I feel like that will help other board members and community to understand that,
Yeah.
you know, that we aren't expecting somebody at the beginning of the school year to be at that point yet, because they haven't learned all of the information.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try to emphasize that more, but
Yeah,
we definitely don't expect them to be further ahead than they should be. Thank you.
Okay, then I'll invite Erin Faust to come forward to share about summer school.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, so I wanted to start with our attendance trends because we like to look at attendance as a way to gauge, are we making an impact? How many students are we actually are taking advantage of the program? So we have some historical data that looks at our numbers from 2017 up until last summer. And we have to look at this with a little bit of caution because we've made some major updates. So the numbers aren't quite apples to apples, but I can explain that a little bit too. So 2017, 18, 19, we ran a program where students could only select 2 classes at our K through 8 level. Last summer, we started where students could select between 3 classes. That allowed students an opportunity to have a math, a reading, and an enrichment if they wanted. So that may account for some of the increase in numbers that we are seeing. We also offered a more robust opportunity for high school students to take virtual classes last year. So our numbers are up across the board for some various reasons. The best way to maybe look at this is the very last column, which is FTE, which is our full student count. That's the number that we report to DPI based on a bunch of calculations that we have in the background. But that's the easiest number to look at to say, like, are we growing, are we declining? So in 2017, we've now surpassed that number, which is a really great goal because from 2017, we had seen a decline. Then we had COVID, and now we're back moving in the right direction. So we're hoping to maintain and continue to grow our program. But if you look at it, we had 4,358 courses, unique courses that students participated in. And we had 777 high school students take a course. These are all unique students, so there's not a repetition. So if you took 3 classes, you're still only counted once in this number. So this is a significant increase in the number of unique students who took a summer school course. These are the updates that we made last year that are going to continue because they were very successful for us. So we last year moved from a 5-day school week to a 4-day school week. Continue to have no classes on Friday and no class on July 4th. It will be the same sort of 4-week time period, beginning on Tuesday, June 13th and ending on Thursday, July 6th. We have the district calendar ends a little bit later than it has historically, so we are allowing our classroom teachers a day in the classroom on that Monday to get their classroom set up, which is why we're beginning on a Tuesday instead of that Monday the 12th. Students again will have 3 sessions per day, again accounting for a math, a literacy, and an enrichment should they so choose. The other caveat with that is students don't have to take all 3. If they want district transportation, they would need to take all 3 so that they can be there the full time, but there is flexibility for families to choose and say, well, they only want these 2 classes or they only want 1. As long as family can provide transportation, students can have that flexibility of how they want to approach the program. We will again utilize 3 of our district buildings for the elementary program, and then we will also utilize the high school. So we will be using Decorah for our 4K, kindergarten and first grade students. Green Tree will host our 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade students, and Silverbrook again will host our 5th through 7th grade students. The asterisk is that our 4th grade students with special education needs, their classes take place at Silverbrook to give them that little bit of extra opportunity and transition support. All students will again receive a summer school recommendation form from their teachers. Historically, that had only been done for students who needed a math or a literacy support class. But last year it was well received. Students enjoyed being able to send some information home to parents. So the students view a video, like a promo video of all the classes, and then the front of the sheet, they get to circle, like, here's what I'm interested in. It goes back to their teacher. The teacher on the back writes out, like, here's my recommendation. Every child gets one, even if it's an enrichment recommendation. Like, I know you like science, so here's a science class I think you would like. So every student gets that sent home prior to registration opening. We are also going to offer the 2nd term of summer school again for our students in grades kindergarten through 7. And this is really just a math and a literacy focused session to sort of jumpstart, get your brain back going. Some students participate in term 1 and term 2, so they're getting literacy and math throughout the summer. And some students choose one or the other based on how their family has their summer schedule. But it's good to offer both opportunities. We will also have our music camp for incoming 5th graders offered during that 2nd week of term 2. So anybody who's doing introduction to band or orchestra, that's offered during the 2nd week. This allows students the opportunity to take math and reading for at least a week, and then if they need to switch into their band and orchestra, they can keep their transportation and all of that in place. But it cleans up a little bit the process that we had from last year. So based on some feedback from students and teachers and families, streamlined this approach a little bit better.
Erin, can you describe a little bit about the boost classes?
Yep, so we are offering different levels of boost classes this year in math and literacy. So we really are looking at using summer school to continue moving forward our students in all areas, but particularly math and literacy. So we have at each grade level a math class and a literacy class that is really going to be targeted to our students who are receiving Tier 3 intervention throughout the school year. So we're going to keep those class sizes really small. We're going to really target that instruction for those who are there. We will again offer what's been traditionally called our standards class, which is more geared at our students who receive Tier 2 instruction or who are in that striving band of students on our STAR report. And then we will also offer our enrichment opportunities in literacy and math as we have in the past. But just again, trying to target students and continue to give them the support they need so that they can make their gains during the school year and to keep their learning going throughout the summer. For our grades 8 through 12, this has historically been a 5-week program. It will continue to be a 5-week program with a few caveats based on how students want to access it. So we will offer 3 different opportunities for students, which is in-person courses. Those are typically credit recovery courses, and they are taught by our West Bend teachers, or they are taught by licensed teachers, but they're on campus. The second option is virtual courses, but those are credit recovery, and we utilize Edgenuity through that, and one of our district staff members oversees students taking those credit recovery courses. So Edgenuity is a computer-based program, but it is under like the direct tutelage of an instructor. The other option is virtual with the Wisconsin Virtual School, who is also our partner with our West Bend Virtual Academy. Those are for credit advancement opportunities. Students then have a district staff member who checks on and monitors their progress, but it's not that same level of support as students who are in the in-person credit recovery classes or the Edgenuity courses. The virtual courses, so that option number 2 with the Wisconsin Virtual School, are 6-week courses. So students have from June 1st to whatever, I think it's July 14th. 6 weeks of course time. The other classes are the 5 weeks. One of the new things we're offering this year is based on parent feedback and student feedback. For our in-person physical education classes, for the 5-week course, students can only miss 2 days. Otherwise, they fall short of the minutes that DPR requires students to have in order to earn the half credit. This creates a lot of challenges for families, for students who have a sports camp that they attend, who have a big vacation planned that they've had planned since, this part of the school year. And then they're like, well, now I can't take gym. What do I do? So new this year, we are going to offer a 6th week of PE for those students who have an approved, pre-approved, like a approved plan. So if they know they want to take summer PE, but they're going to a camp and they're going to miss 5 days, they will submit an application, have it approved, and then their name will go on the list to participate during that 6th week. So they still have to attend the appropriate number of days, but they will be able to make that up in that 6th week. So hopefully this is a way for those students to take advantage of the opportunities that in-person PE offers. There's a lot of socialization, there's a lot of getting to know new friends and new faces, because it's typically our 8th graders moving into high school who take this class. But it also then values families who have vacations planned or students who are going to camps. DPI requirements don't allow us to count camp minutes, so students who are going to like an athletic camp for their PE credits. So this is just another way to say, I understand you're going to a place where it's very physical, but we have to offer this opportunity as well. So I'm going to back up to that. We are working on a flyer that will go home with all of our 8th graders to really clearly outline this, how they seek the pre-approval, what this means, all of that. So that communication will be coming shortly to them. Registration. So registration will open for our high school students on Monday, March 6th, and then a week later, our elementary registration opens. We typically close registration for our elementary students in mid-April, but that means we close the online forms. Students can still call our office directly, and if we have spaces available, then we fill students where they are able to fit. And then these are the rest of the updates, not as many as last year, not as many changes. So the physical education for the high school will be able to accommodate students missing more than 2 days. We are also going to try a priority registration process this year, specifically to assist our students currently receiving Tier 3 intervention and our students who receive English language learning support, so that they have first priority and we get them in the correct classes. I don't want them to go online and then the classes that they need are filled. I want them to be able to have access to the courses we're specifically planning to meet their needs. So in conjunction with their intervention teachers, we will be working through a registration process prior to opening it to all of the district students. And then our last update for this summer is we're looking to make some tweaks, but not yet quite a major overhaul to our Get Ready for Kindergarten program. We've been having some very intentional talks with our kindergarten and our 4K administrative teams and our teachers so that we can be very intentional in our summer school planning. So that students that we're noticing may need support in early literacy, we can provide that in an intentional way in summer school. And then a group who may need numeracy skills. And then we're also looking at, we have a group of students who don't attend a formal 4K program and they begin kindergarten in our district, but they also attend this 4K program as like getting ready. So looking at what can we do specifically for that group of students to ease that transition even more. So we'll be working with the 4K teachers and the elementary administrative staff and team to make some tweaks to our existing curriculum, just to be a little bit more intentional in these 3 areas. Questions for me?
I don't really have any questions, but I just think it's great that we offer this, and I want to clarify, this is for all people that live in the district, even if they don't attend West Bend School, right?
Yep, so this is for all students. If you open enroll into the district during the school year, it's open to you. If you live in the district, but you open enroll out, summer school is open to you. So yes, as long as you have residency in West Bend, if you're a homeschool student, if you attend a parochial school, summer school is for everyone. So that was another thing we did last year too, is more outreach to our parochial students and our students who don't necessarily attend our public school during the school year.
Great. No, I think it's a great program, and I'm excited that we offer it, and it's a good opportunity for kids and get them out of the house in the summer and, you know, continue the learning and the math and literacy especially where they need the most support, right?
This presentation will go to the board in March, I believe, just for program approval.
Correct.
Okay.
So Erin, thank you. I'm so happy that we can offer these intensive boost classes. I think that's really gonna help us with the work during the school year. And also that we are able to offer that extra week of PE for those high school students. That's some feedback we've gotten from parents. And I think the cool thing about it is, even though it's a week long, if I only miss 3 days, I only have to go to that for 3 days. I don't have to go the whole week. I only have to make up the days I missed. And I think that gives a lot of opportunity to our students. So the more we can open up these opportunities and provide supports, I think is great. So thank you.
All right. If there's no further discussion, then I will now close the meeting at 9:05. We are adjourned.